Good morning, everybody. This is Jenna Rovira and one of our horses, Dubidoo, at our personal farm, reporting in for another Horsin around school days at MTRA. Dubidoo, aka Dubidoo, is an Anglo-Arabian, which is a crossbreed between an Arabian and a thoroughbred. I am very particular and love my Arabians, and he has turned out to be an amazing horse. But he's going to join us for our last session on anatomy, and he might be munching on some alfalfa cubes here throughout the video, so don't mind. We can definitely cover a lot more in anatomy, but we just want to cover the rest of the basics. We've gone over kind of the front half of the horse, covering the poll and the crest and the muzzle and different parts of the face, and then we did legs in our second lesson. So now we want to cover kind of like the torso and the body hind end of the horse for the remainder. So with that being said, we'll get started here. We have a couple things we didn't cover in the front end. We have the throat, which is where the windpipe meets the horse's head, underside their jaw. When we put on a bridle on our horse, we have the piece of the bridle that's called the throat latch, and that's where you secure along the throat here on our horse. We covered the crest, but we didn't really cover the neck of the horse. Show them your neck, Doobie. So the neck is this area here, obviously. It's got 7 cervical vertebrae, and it can be lean. Sometimes you'll see a U neck, which is a very lean neck and doesn't have much curvature over the neck line. Or you can see some muscular and curved. Doobie is probably a little bit heavier than he should be, and he's Arabian in his bloodline, so he's going to have a little more curvature and some solid muscle and probably a little bit of chubbiness in there too. And again, we have the mane, which is this long coarse hair. The manes are important. That helps protect their neck and keeps flies off of them, protects them from the sun, and that grows out of the dorsal ridge, right out of the middle of their neck. The next part that we didn't cover up front was the chest area of the horse and the breast. That's this muscular mass between the horse's forearms. And Doobie's kind of narrow, but he's also hefty, so you can see a good muscle mass here on his chest. The next part, moving into what we really wanted to get into today, is the barrel of the horse. That's this whole area here. The barrel is the body of the horse that encloses their rib cage and protects their major internal organs. I would say you can usually feel the ribs, but again, Doobie's kind of a hefty boy, so he probably needs to go on a slight diet here. I can't really feel his ribs. But this is the barrel here that covers the ribs. Then the ribs, of course, are the skeletal piece that protects the internal organs of the horse. And just an interesting fact on the ribs, that typically horses have 18 ribs. But Arabians, not all of them, but a lot of them only have 17 pairs of ribs. And also going with the skeletal structure facts, most horses have 6 lumbar vertebrae, and Arabians only have 5. A lot of them, not all of them. It's not consistent across the whole breed, but just kind of a fun little fact about the skeletal structure. Beneath the rib cage and around the barrel, we have what's called the heart girth, and that's this area. See if you can come here. The heart girth is this area here. That is behind the elbow. Remember, the elbow is in here. It's behind the elbow, and it's on a typical healthy body, not overweight horse. It's going to be the largest diameter of the horse's barrel. It's also the area typically that the girth on your saddle is going to cross under. Then we have the belly, which Doobie has a very big belly. Come here, Doobie. Come on. Come here. The belly is this area here. And then our back. Our back starts out of the withers of the horse. And everybody has different beliefs, but I know old adage is kind of horses with shorter backs are often good horses for riding. They're believed to be good and strong horses suitable for riding purposes. Let him eat a little. Next part we have in our barrel and body of our horse, behind where our saddle goes. So typically the saddle will go to about here. We have the loin of the horse. That's the spot just behind the saddle. And you have to watch. On some horses this can be a ticklish area. Or if you have an ill-fitting saddle that doesn't quite fit the horse's back, it can be a sensitive spot because of pain that the horses are feeling from the way that the saddle fits and the effects of it. Next up, we have the croup, which again, let me see if I can move him forward a little. Come on, Doobie. Come on. So the croup of our horse starts at the point of the hip, the top of the hip, and it goes to the dock of the bone, tailbone. That's this area right in here. Some people call that the rump of the horse. We have the tail, and at the top of the tail we have the dock. That's sometimes referred to as the living part of the tail. Huh, Dewey? In the tail has a lot of importance. You'll probably catch some of these notes in Miss Catherine's sense videos, but the tail is very important. It helps to keep flies off of the horses. They use it to swish because they don't have hands like you or I to be able to get the flies off of their body. The tail also helps with balance. I'm waving my pinkies because in my mind it's kind of like our pinky toes. It helps us to hold our balance and keep ourselves centered. And then it's very important because it communicates. A tail, if you can see, his is barely moving right now. He's very comfortable. He's in the shade, cooled off. He's occasionally swishing it, maybe to keep a fly off of him. But if horses are upset, in pain, or uncomfortable, sometimes you might see that tail swishing aggressively. If they're threatening another horse, you might see them swishing it as they kind of back up to another horse. It's a sign of warning. Or with Arabians, he's not quite as excitable as some of the Arabians I've seen, and I have two other here. I can show you a sneak peek at the end of the video. But a lot of Arabians and horses in general, when they get excited and they take off and run, you might see that tail kind of stand straight up over their back, and it might be accompanied with snorting, and they a lot of times take off, or they dance and prance around. That's a sign of excitement when that tail rises up, their energy's up. So it's very communicative. Going back to our skeletal facts, the tail vertebrae in a typical horse, they have 18 tail vertebrae. However, in Arabians, we have often 16 vertebrae. So then that moves us into the buttocks of the horse, which, see if I can scoot him forward. We keep moving back further and further. So the buttocks of the horse is this fleshy part under the horse's tail. It's a lot of muscle, and that's the back part under their tail. And then the one other thing we did not cover, get my rope right, the one other thing we did not cover is our flank. And this is where the barrel of the horse meets the hind leg of our horse. So the flank is going to be right in here, and my other two Arabs are making their way in. But that flank area, again, that can be a sensitive, ticklish spot. Come here, dude. Come here. He's going to be a little cautious here because he's kind of a low man on the totem pole. But this is the flank area, and you can see a little bit. He's pretty touch-proof, but it can be a sensitive spot, so you always have to watch handling that area because sometimes horses might kick out or react because it is a little ticklish. Moving into other lessons in the future, two other kind of precessors that I wanted to introduce are terms onside and offside. Come on, Doobie. So right now, I'm standing on the left side of Doobie, and this is called the onside. Typically, when we mount a horse, we mount our horse from the left side, and it's believed that this is due to the old days of warriors and soldiers oftentimes carrying a weapon in their right side of their belt loop or waistband, so they didn't get on. They would get, oh, I messed that up. I think they carry him on the left side, so they get on from the left side of the horse so that that weapon is out of the way. Therefore, if we are on the opposite side of our horse, this is going to be called the offside. So as we move forward in other lessons, you might catch us referring to offside. That just means that you're standing on the right side of your horse's body over here. All right, so with that being said, just one other fact. This little lovely lady back here is a pure Arabian, and that's Doobie's mother. She is a sweet, full-blood Arabian, and definitely when you see her running, you're gonna see that full Arab effect with the tail flipping over the back and some fancy high movement. Anyhow, hope you all enjoyed our last part of our anatomy lesson. There's definitely other things we can cover in the horse's anatomy. If you want to hear more, let us know. We can go more in depth, but this will cover us for the time being. Doobie, can you give him a kiss goodbye? Say bye-bye. Adios.